Okay, welcome to everyone who's here, everyone who's going to see this on YouTube. This is part of our Aperitif concert series. My name is Stacy Dyson, and I am the head of Tesoro. Tesoro is a worldwide network of women poets, songwriters, playwrights, you name it, we got it, but women who work in words. And as I was saying last night, I introduce every single session of these concerts the same way. So let's not break with tradition. I am beyond blessed. We are beyond blessed to be able to present Geminifox, otherwise known as Stephanie Jackson. She is one of the new members of Tesoro, and she's going to spread a little wit and wisdom with us. I never spend time giving people's bios because with most of the folks that I interview, I'd be here for a day and a half and we'd never get anything done. So talk to us a little bit about who you are.
I am Stephanie Jackson. I was born on the island of St. Lucia. I've lived in the United States for over 30 years now. I am a poet, a creative, a designer, and I love everything about poetry. I think life is poetry.
Okay. So I'm going to start you off by asking the question that I ask every single interview. And you can interpret it however it is you need to, answer it however you feel. Why
Okay.
poetry and why now?
Poetry is life. Everything in life um, is poetry, for me at least. And poetry connects people. You don't have to live someone's experience to be able to understand. It's an empathic connection that does not need any explanation. And when it hits the person it hits, that's because they connected fully with it.
Uh-huh. Um, Talk to me about how important poetry is in this particular political and cultural climate.
So right now, people are trying to find a way to connect, um, and then to share the way that they're feeling. Um, I can't remember if it was, no, I don't remember the quote, so I shouldn't try to do that. Um, but there was a poet that says that we're basically the historians. If we are silent, who else is going to speak? So in this day and time, the poets are the ones who are the true historians because we record what the history books are going to omit.
Like that. I really like that. And I couldn't agree with you more. We'll get back to the poetry questions in a minute. I want to talk about the dresses. Um, for those of you who don't know or haven't seen the video or whatever, this woman is an amazing designer. So tell me about that part of your life.
Um, well, coincidentally, I was part of a fashion show, my first fashion show yesterday. So if I look a little bushed, that's because I was up until 4:30 a.m. yesterday morning sewing. Um, it was amazing. And then I was on the news last night. So that was a new experience for me. I was on ABC Action News. For me, I look at sewing the same way I look at poetry. What I'm wearing today is all drapery. And so for me, people make you into what they think you should be. And I look at a piece of fabric and it tells me what it wants to be. Someone made it into a bed sheet to never see the light of day, but it didn't want to be a bed sheet. And this did not want to be drapes. It wanted to go out into a garden somewhere and to be seen. And that's what I did. I made it into something to be seen. With poetry, you don't have to be what people tell you you're supposed to be. With your poetry, you can find healing, you can find connection. You don't have to keep all of those things inside of you anymore.
Okay, that definitely works from my perspective. What is the, I don't want to use the word end game. What's the next step as
To
far as your
keep following,
poetry?
to keep following my purpose. So the two things, the first one is for my own individual growth. Um, every competition, every step I've taken is to basically push myself out of the way. Um, I I nominated myself for Best of the Bay for best spoken word artist, not because I believed that I was the best, but I was afraid of being seen, and I was afraid of rejection. And I ended up becoming a finalist for Best of the Bay for Best Spoken Word Artist last year. And then this year, my goal was to fight the thought of inadequacy and that imposter syndrome of being a poet. So I registered for Women of the World Poetry Slam, and I will be competing with international poets next month. Um, and in doing that, um, I keep myself humble because there are people who are just starting to write. And I have an open mic, and I love taking new poets and putting them on the stage and paying them for sharing their work because they're basically sharing their vulnerability. They are sharing parts of themselves. Some of them have never shared any of those things with another living soul, but yet here you are just opening up your wounds on stage and allowing us to sit there with you while you wait for it to heal. Because I believe any wound that's covered just festers. It doesn't heal. You just get infected over and over again. And when I was growing up, after I had injured myself, my mother would put the Band-Aid on, the Neosporin. But after a few days, she'd say, you don't need the Band-Aid anymore. She'd take it out and let the wound air out and let it scab over. And poets, the reason why poetry works so well for us, it's a form of therapy, and it allows us to air out our wounds. And once I graduate from, I have a lot of stuff. Once I graduate from counseling, I have my associate at the end of this year, then I have to work towards my bachelor's. I'm going to utilize poetry in poetry therapy for counseling, because I believe that it's needed. And sometimes people are writing poetry what they will not tell a counselor. So that is my goal, is to continue moving along that path. It comes natural to me, both the creativity, the poetry, and connecting with people. And I believe those are the gifts that God gave me for me to go ahead and do what I need to do in this world to impact other people and to get them to a point where they can move and impact others. So it's going to be a chain reaction.
Sounds like all things bright and beautiful and glittering
But behind that,
are coming your way. Well, I mean, behind that, there's the hard work, and the crying and the blood and the sweat. I mean, we all get that, but it sounds like you're not only on the right path, the very directed path. Um, just real quick, because we only have a minute left of this interview, and then we'll go into your set.
okay.
What do you want for this year? You got one, a genie pops out of the bottle and says, you got one thing. What do you want?
That one is hard. For this year, I want to see myself as God sees me. And He poured all of these things into me and believing that they belong to me as far as me being the vessel to utilize them for His purpose. And I have been hiding from that. And for me to see myself as He sees me, so saying yes to the things I need to say yes to, even though I'm afraid or I feel inadequate, or it seems impossible. Because some of the things that I've mentioned so far, just within the last few minutes, were impossible for me before. I didn't see myself like that. And
Okay.
I'm afraid. I'm very afraid of what he thinks I'm capable of.
Don't be afraid, honey. Just rejoice in it all and embrace it. So the stage is now yours for the next 30 minutes. Do you know, I know you're gonna be fantastic. So let's hear
Okay.
what you got, babe.
Okay. So I will start with a personal poem. Are you on a diet? No, she replied. I have not died yet. Oh, sorry. There we go. Can you still see me?
You're
Okay,
good.
awesome. Are you on a diet? No, she replied. I have not died yet, but I'm dying to be thin, slowly purging myself, demolishing fat cells by the billions. I geyser every single morsel of disgusting food that touches my lips. My stomach is white glove clean. No, I'm not hungry, she said. I gorged my taste buds earlier. My mother prepared a delicious dinner. I cleaned out my plate. Then I excused myself and cleansed my stomach again 20 minutes later. No, I'm still full. Downed a gallon and a half of water. This is not a disorder, she screamed. This is the most orderly my body has been in my entire life. No, I'm not losing weight too quickly. Can't you see them? They are trying to multiply. Waves of cellulite are clinging to every part of this body. I had to cut off their food supply, beat them down before they could call in for reinforcements. Don't you see her? The skinny girl inside of me fighting to get through. I'm only trying to break her free from this prison. I'm not hurting anyone. Why are you so concerned? Everyone else is complimenting me. They're telling me to keep doing what I've been doing. My mother complimented me. I need to finish what I started, to break this prison down, brick by cellulite brick. I need to be skinny. I need to be beautiful. So oftentimes we look at ourselves and we only see the negative. And as far as weight goes, that was the case for me. Um, it took me years to see myself beyond fat cells. It took me years to see myself beyond a dress size, beyond my stature, because being fat and short is not cute. Being skinny and short is cute. Being, how I call it, being sturdy and tall. You can be big boned, but short and chubby, you're just fat. Um, so this is one of my mottos that I developed for myself. Love is everything. God is love. Love is everything. God is love. And if God is in us, then we are not gods. We are love. Man seeks to dominate everything around him, will bend time to fit his fancy, disturb the earth's crust, everything within his grasp, just to pretend to be God. But he will forget the most important thing, miss the most important clue. You are a celestial. You are deity. You are God if you know how to believe in love and love well. Have you ever been loved well? Are you always keeping score? They say that in tennis, love means both sides are equal to zero. How many times have you equaled to 0? Or are you still counting? Are you keeping score? If both of us have 0, then no one wins, but no one loses either. Love is everything. God is love, and if God is in you, then you are love. So I write about everything. When I say that poetry is everything, I mean that there's not a thought that I have that's not in poetic form or parables. I say I'm the love child of Dr. Zeus and Maya Angelou, because it's cute for a while, and then it becomes annoying. If you remember Michael Myers in The Cat in the Hat, you will understand what I mean. So sometimes I speak in rhyme or um, I speak in poetic devices, and I don't know I'm doing it until someone points it out. And then I become self-conscious and I try to adjust. Um, but I'm becoming more comfortable with just being myself. So if you don't like the fact that I speak in parables and in rhyme and in poetry, don't talk to me as much. You're gonna be fine. So every poet has done this. So I wrote about an experience I had with my poetry. I massacred them. Every single one, not one at a time, but all at once with one touch, one click. I massacred them, took away their life, suicide bomber everything I had ever created, killed parts of myself all at once, leaving nothing, not a trace, not a body part, nothing left to salvage, not a memory of them, not even a single syllable. I wiped out the entire set of experiences, emotions, feeling, healing. And I have no way of recovering them, no way of bringing them back to life. I can try to reincarnate them, but they would never be the same. Have you ever seen Pet Cemetery? You know that they never come back the same. I will try. I will try one by one to bring them back to life again, try to collect just the essence of them. Maybe I can allow myself to be haunted just for a little bit to bring them back, just long enough to have them close. Maybe I'll just say goodbye, bid them farewell, close the coffin. This is my doing. Maybe there were parts of me that needed to die, and I was just holding on. Now I mourn them, every single one, carelessly discarded, carelessly massacred with my own 2 hands. A note to writers: you should never do your own editing. Leave it to the professionals, but if you insist, first, save your poetry on everything. Write them down on cue cards. Send them to yourself by letter, by certified mail, but never, ever do your own editing. So quick story behind that. I was using Google Docs and I went to edit something and deleted my entire file of poetry. And my heart completely sank. And I cried and I called customer service and they said they could do nothing. And I was very persistent and I cried and I prayed and I cried. And finally, they were able to restore it to the last update. So I have several different files now. I have emailed some of my most precious works to myself, but I've been chastised and told that this is a sign that I need to write a book, which I will do eventually. And this is from parts of what my book would look like. So let's get on with the poetry. So I have a lot of like thoughts that come up that are not quite poems. So thinking of talking of my dresses, um, this is a thought that came up. Contrary to popular belief, I do know my elbows from my ass. I just happen to believe that one should be exposed and the other should not. My father went through a great deal to hide but expose my elbows. My autonomy speaks for itself. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss. I just realized that.
There is no censoring here. You can say whatever it is you feel like you need to say.
Okay. Um, ah, this one. What would you do for love? Have you ever poured your love into a black hole? Felt the furnace of passion grow cold and winter came. I tried starting a fire in the middle of a rainstorm, kept the embers alive with my own body thrown over it, and still there was nothing. Yet I would do it all over again. Pour pour light into the midst of darkness. A whirlwind starts an entire universe just with a feel of love again. Tear my clothes off my bare skin. Save the fire in the middle of the rainstorm. Feed the furnace with my bones. So tell me, what would you do for love? And all of us have been there. I just had a friend who had a teenager fly from one state to the state that I'm in to meet someone that they were in love with at age 17. Um, so it was a very long weekend for me. They're finally back home safe. Um, but it's scary, the power of love. When we look at Romeo and Juliet and all of those movies, but all of us, whether it's in youth or adulthood, have felt that strong passion that and it's kind of like crazy, going crazy for a short period of time. Like I think love is like temporary insanity. You don't know what you're doing, at least for a moment, and then you come to your senses. And this again is about love. Did you ever love me? Was I ever the fantasy that you dreamed of? Was it my face you saw in the back of your eyelids? Was it my name on your lips? Did you ever love me? You never knew how to hold me. Always held me somewhere between shards, glass fragments, and crumpled eggshells. It never felt comfortable, never safe, at least not to me. So tell me, can you say what you really feel now? I mean, it's not like we're together anymore. It's not like you are invested. It's not like you ever were. So tell me, just so I know, so I could sleep at night without this nagging thought lingering in the back of my head. Did you ever love me? Did you ever think you could? Did you even try? Or maybe I shouldn't ask. Maybe the answer is too much for me to handle. Maybe I don't want to know the truth. Maybe I can believe that the puppy love we started was something that could grow into something more, that we could be wolves together, that we could howl at the moon, that you were not howling in another direction, searching for something you thought was more alpha than me. Did you ever love me? And all of us has been there in the middle or at the end of a love story, um, with the nagging question. And sometimes it's kind of just internal. It's us in our own thoughts, in our heads, um, our past experiences, our past trauma, just wanting that reassurance, that confirmation. And sometimes it's kind of ignoring the red flags and not seeing what's really there. So you question yourself and you have the answer, but you want to get a different answer from the person that you're in love with. Sometimes that does not come. Okay.
You're absolutely perfect on time, so please keep going. I'm having a blast over here.
So, um, I jumped on open mics often during COVID. Not as often anymore because, of course, life has opened up. But you would jump often to Bus Boys and Poets and speak to E-Baby. E-Baby had a way of making every poet who got onto the platform feel special and seen. He treated everyone kindly and like would joke around and stuff, and it was beautiful. So I wrote this to him. This was a freestyle on Bus Boys and Poets. I like the way you lick your lips, savoring every bit of life's essence, like the way you read with your fingers touching everything as if it's braille, connecting with man and nature alike. I love the way everything moves you to poetry, to prose. I love the way you speak. I like the way you watch me, look at me as if I am a poem that you're supposed to compose and God made. You are the writer I want to be. I want to be your poem. So write me. Write me into eternity. Make me infamous until the century has ended. Make sure that every single man knows exactly how you feel about me. Make me beautiful forever. Write me. And of course, E-Baby is used to making everyone blush. And this was my opportunity to return the favor. Um, I do freestyle quite a bit because um, it's just it's just part of me. Some things will move me. Some people don't believe in prompts. I believe that life itself is a prompt, and that anything that you're given, you can find some connectivity, some portion of yourself, your history, or your experience in it. And so that's what I do when it comes to freestyle. Sorry, I'm losing my extra pair of eyes. Okay, there we go. For those of you who wear glasses, if you think that you're going blind, before you make any judgments or any rushes of kind of like deductions, please clean your glasses because I was sure that things were getting really, really dim until I wiped my glasses. And now I can see clearly. Okay, I can't remember why I wrote this one. Am I somebody's baby? They say that it's mama's baby, papa's maybe, maybe, Maybe he didn't mean to throw me away. Maybe there were obligations to uphold. Maybe he was justified. Maybe it was his pride, but I've always wanted to be somebody's little girl. In every song, every poem, every story, there's always a hero. He's always masculine. He was always daddy in every single sitcom. My life has never been a sitcom. And if it was made into one, it would be something like the Jeffersons, but of course, there was no daddy, no one to play that role. I've always wanted to be somebody's baby. So I have a weird relationship with my father. Um, I reached out to him as a young adult and connected, but he himself has said that he's not good at staying connected. Um, but I'm finding kind of like a middle ground. I'm learning to love people. I'm learning to accept the level of love that people can give to me and offer in return the same. And if you offer in return the same, then it doesn't feel like robbery. Now, if you are able to go ahead and love them beyond what they're capable of giving you, it should not feel like robbery. And you should be aware of it and accept it. And I'm in the middle of learning that lesson right now. Okay, so I've been single for the past 6 years, and I've had a few experiences these past few years. And one of them was the trend that started in young men dating older women. Of course, my son is 21, my daughter's 26. I've already raised my children. So I'm not looking to raise any more. But there was someone that was persistent, so I wrote a poem about him. I tell people, like, you will end up in my poetry one way or another. You can write yourself in as the hero or the villain. You're the one who writes it in. I am just a narrator. So this was my narration of that experience. He was nothing but a cub, howling at me like I was the moon. Only thing he wanted to see naked. I told him that I did not play with other people's children. Yet for 6 years, he's checked every single 6 months to see if he's old enough, as if time has stopped on my maturity. Or maybe I've lost my freaking mind and I will touch somebody else's child. He tells me he thinks about kissing me often. Why can't someone my age be that romantic? They act like jackrabbits. He acts like he wants to settle down. That's until he finds another moon to howl at, until he realizes this gray hair is not a fashion statement, that these hairs are of wisdom, and I am too wise to fall for some foolishness and touch someone else's baby. You see, I ain't no cougar. I'm more cheetah, panther, lioness. I know how to take care of cubs. And baby, you're still a cub. But I don't have any nipples left to breastfeed, so no, you can't touch me. I don't want you to hug me. I don't want to hold your hand. That shit ain't cute. I hope you find someone to do all of that with, and that's not going to be me. See, I'm somebody's mother. I'm old enough to be yours. If I'd started 5 years earlier. But thank you so much for the compliments. Maybe this face is fooling you. I blame my Caribbean blood. I blame my mother, I blame my father for his genes, but damn, my gray hair gives me away every single time. His cheekbones crack like they've inspired Rice Krispies slogan. Snack, crackle, pop. My back only bends to a certain degree. I know what I'm supposed to be doing at this stage. And I'm not supposed to be playing with anybody else's cups. So thank you for the invitation yet again. I will speak to you in another 6 to 8 months from now when you come checking again to see if life has stood still or maybe I've lost my goddamn mind. But COVID hasn't made me that damn desperate. I don't play with anybody else's baby. So there should
Wait, you can't just leave us. Oh, you're hurting myself. I
um
I love that piece. And I'm sorry to interrupt your flow,
no,
but
no,
that
don't
piece
no.
just spoke to me on so many levels. I can't even breathe right.
You
So,
too. You
yeah,
too.
yes, ma'am.
Like, so I had this individual that wanted so much to be with me. Now, this is somebody else. There should be a whole lot more poems, a whole lot more poems. Um, of me breaking people's hearts, the way my friends say, man, you broke his little heart. I'm like, no, I broke his little pride and maybe broke some sense into him because I'm too old for this stuff. I commend the women that want to go ahead and do all of that. But no, my daughter is turning 26. My son just turned 21. And no, I'm not disrespecting my babies like that, number one. And number two, I'm not disrespecting myself. I'm like, I'm 40 something, you're 20 something. I could have had you. I don't want to have you. Okay? Um, but
See,
no.
this is a discussion that we need to put like on a whole different talk show format that I'm going to have to invent. But listen,
Ooh.
don't want to interrupt your flow. We've got about 5 more minutes. Let's get you through this and
5
then
more?
talk
I thought
about.
there was more.
I
Okay.
I
Um,
wish there were, but according to the dictates of the show, we've got about 5, 6 more minutes.
dude, okay. Let me. Oh no. Okay. So let me. Oh, well, I write about everything. But this one is called Praying for Anarchy. We we'd forgotten all of our answered prayers, gorged ourselves on the fermented grapes of amnesia, forgetting who answered them. We wished for anarchy, prayed for the madmen who sopranoed their ways into our hearts. We cannot blame anyone but ourselves for this, for creating a supervillain, picking him clean out of every single comic, every darkness that comes. When it comes, then we will cry. When the darkness comes, we will reach for him, wonder why our prayers go unanswered. When the gates of heaven close and the line is cut, then we will reach for him. We are disobedient children, spoiled by the Father who has never turned his back on us. We will believe our favor to be immunity from every single hardship, from answering for our very sins. We have sold our souls for nothing more than favor from those who would watch us burn. Because you see, I do not write poems. I now realize that I seance every word sent to me. This is why I cannot taint my pen, cannot dip it into the pool of lust, unwasted desires. I cannot inscribe words that will be given to another and claim them to be my own. I see things that I wish I did not have the power to see. I see things that others choose to ignore, I guess, in a way that makes me a prophet. But I've never wished to be a prophet. But we are ungrateful children. The day will come when every answer will be no, every call go unanswered, every prayer stuck in the roof of our mouths. And then we will have the audacity to curse the God that we've turned our backs on. And do I have time for one more?
Absolutely.
Okay. I think I will. I want to end it with the garden. Well, I'll end with two short poems. And this is entitled 22 Caliber. This mouth is a 22 caliber. Let me start over. This mouth is a 22 caliber revolver engraved Geminifox. It should be labeled Smith and Wesson the way these bullets fly when I spin the barrel. There's always something in the chamber. There's no safety. Not for me. When you can shoot yourself from the inside and no one can see the holes, is it really safe? I try to protect everyone else, keep this barrel pointed away from them, try to keep them out of the line of fire, but they always step in line, make themselves a perfect target. I always end up playing one-woman Russian roulette, spinning the chamber, facing the barrel to myself to avoid hurting anyone else. They say you shouldn't play with guns, but they fail to tell you that the slug in your mouth is much more dangerous than any round you could ever load into a chamber, any gun you could ever get your hands on. Because guns don't kill people. Words do. They labeled me poet, as if that could make me less dangerous. This label should read, warning, I own a 22 caliber. Though I have never owned a gun in my life, these lips are more dangerous than any barrel I could ever point at you. And one more. I think I'll do this one. I wrote this for a friend of mine after a conversation. I transcribed this because I did it for a freestyle on an Instagram, on a poetry show. I wonder if you still speak to God. I speak to him often about you. I wonder if you slept last night, and if you did sleep, was he able to hold the demons at bay? I wonder if you actually rested. Or was it just emotion, the body shutting down partially, like turning off a machine for a moment, letting the engine rest while everything is idling in the background? I wonder if peace feels like being idle to you. If you keep yourself busy to keep from thinking, because if you don't think, then you don't have to feel. And if you don't feel, you don't have to ponder whether or not he heard your last prayer. By the way, when was your last prayer? Did you hear him speak back? Did he answer? I wonder if you still believe in dreams, that there are things possible beyond this reality, things that you cannot touch. I wonder if you still believe in love. I wonder if it hurts to think about it. If you could ever see yourself falling again, or maybe jumping headfirst on purpose this time. But in all of my wondering, I lay up at night, my eyelids peeled back. The demons in my memory will not allow me to rest. And when I finally fall asleep, after the Sandman has dragged me from one end of this plane to another, I know that you are still awake, and I worry less about myself. I've been talking to God lately, and although I don't ask him for much about me, your name comes up often.
That was, I don't even have the words for it. Thank you so much. That set was flawless.
Thank you.
Um, so Jennifer, anything you want to throw in here?
I just enjoyed first of all, let me turn my camera on. Hello. I just enjoyed the transparency and the elegance through which it was brought. So that was, yeah.
Thank you. I've been working on, that's what I've been working on for the last, I'll say, close to 15 years or more now.
It's okay.
I'm
Baby, you gotta get a book. You have to. People need to sit there and laugh. People need to know about
That
this.
one piece was hilarious. That was hilarious.
I love that.
No, there was one that I was looking for about a little 12-year-old boy, and he's not 12, but to me, anyone under the age of like 39 is 12.
Okay, but before it gets too deep in here, let me say goodbye and kill this recording before stuff, gets out to the National Enquirer. Geminifox, thank you so much for this. This has been one of the favorite interviews that I have done. For those of you who are going to see this on YouTube, please continue to follow Tesoro and these Aperitif concerts, as well as our other open mics. You can catch us at www.firesingers.com, find out what we're up to. As I say at the end of all of these, I am through fooling around with people's time zones. So wherever you are in the world, whatever time of day it is for you, have a fantastic whatever it is. And we will see y'all later on around the block.
Thank you.
Good night.